What's going on, YouTube? I come to you with some heavy-hearted news today. As you can see by the thumbnail, our 6 month that we had him, adult male Celebensis Sailfin dragon Draco, passed away the other day. And I want to talk about it. And we're going to learn a little bit more through this process of what exactly happened, which is why I'm actually on my way right now back to Arizona Exotic Animal Hospital, which is a great reptile specialist veterinary clinic. I've taken a lot of reptiles to them that I've had certain issues with that I'm not able to take care of on my own, or if you need medicine and stuff like that, they're great. They have reptile specialists on hand. Fantastic. Also, Avion Exotic Animal Hospital out here in Arizona is really good as well. And actually, I was on the phone with Avion in the middle of the night when this was happening. So I'll just kind of tell you the full story from the start. I had just gotten back from a 4-day trip. We were at the Tucson Reptile Expo. We had people at the house looking over all our animals, taking care of animals, cleaning, all that kinds of stuff. And I've been gone for trips this long before, especially with my other sailfin dragons. I've had Finley, which is our Webereye sailfin dragon, for like 3-4 years now. And I've been gone on trips for 1 week for her. And then we have 15 other Celebensis and Microlophus juvenile sailfin dragons. So everybody was living under the same conditions of when I left. The same amount of time of being seen versus not being seen. Draco was very special to me. I was actually filming a series called How to Train Your Dragon, and he was doing great with us. He was an import, so probably 8-9 months ago, he was literally in Indonesia, which could potentially tie into this problem, and we'll talk about that throughout this video. So we brought him in, and he had a little bit of face bashing that took place right before they shipped him to us. I bought him with no face bashing, and then right before they shipped him, they said, hey, he bashed his face a little bit. They said, hey, he bashed his face a little bit. Are you still okay with this? And I said, yeah, can I get a slight discount for the face bash? They gave me the discount. We were all good. I brought him in, and he was a little spastic when I first brought him in. He was like jumping into things, jumping into the lights. So I kind of redid his cage so that he couldn't jump into the lights and stuff like that. And I did that for the first couple months, and he was good. And then slowly I started adding branches and other things. And during this whole time, he was eating here and there, kind of maintaining the same weight that he came to us at. And then he started doing really good. Like, he was eating a ton. He was jumping around his cage in a good way, but not bashing his face. So his face was healing up fantastic. It was looking as if it never even happened, which is one of my dreams for sailfin dragons, is to have them in the condition with no face bashing. I think that's everybody's dream, right? And so fast forward to the trip. At this point, he's doing great. We've had multiple people taking care of him. I've been taking care of him. He's energetic. He uses his entire cage. He basks. He has the proper heat, the proper UV, a great diet of insects with supplementation and vegetables that he's eating like crazy, and he's gaining more fat and muscle mass than when he originally came to us. And so I leave on the trip, not thinking anything, and I come back. And the first day back is always a little bit busy. You know, we have 100 animals that we're coming back with, or maybe 80 animals, depending on how many we sold at the show. And I have to get all those animals situated. I have orders to pack up over the weekend and ship out. But Draco's cage is right next to our bedroom. So literally every time I walk into our bedroom, which is 100 times a day, I peek in at him because I like to see what he's doing. And so when I came back, you know, the workers here, they told me Saturday he looked fine, Sunday he looked fine. I came back Monday, I peeked in at him, he looked good. So I did everything that I needed to do with the other animals, you know, coming back from the show, unpacking the van, returning it, all that stuff. Following up with new customers, people that bought stuff from you, you know, they got questions. It's really, really busy after a show. And I didn't think nothing of it because he looked fine as far as I could tell. I didn't think to do a thorough inspection of him because he had never given me problems before. For probably the last about 3 months, he's been fantastic, like better than better. I saw us riding this out 20 years together. So the next day, I meant to do a little bit more of a thorough analysis of him earlier in the day, but it was so packed full of stuff. I didn't get to see him until the evening, probably around maybe 6 o'clock or so. 6, 7 o'clock, somewhere in that range. And at that time, I remember I was getting ready to change out his water bowl, and I heard a little bit of flailing around in his cage and a splash in the water bowl, which is common during the day, but not common in the evening. In the evening, even if the lights are on, once like 4, 5, 6 o'clock hits, these sailfins, all these sailfins, they start to nestle in to where they're going to sleep for the night. So for Draco to be moving around that much and jumping in his water bowl at night is definitely uncommon. And so I go over there immediately to see what's happening, and also because I do need to change his water. And so he's in his water at 6 o'clock at night, which is very rare. Normally he's only in the water, like I said, throughout the daytime until it's nighttime, and then he starts to go to bed. So he's in his water, and I still don't see anything wrong. And he's a little flighty, you know. We were still working on his training and everything. And so I kind of zip up his cage and I give him a second to jump out of the water bowl because I don't want to purposefully scare him out of the water bowl and sow negative thoughts of interaction with me in his head. So I zip up his cage, and I come back a couple minutes later, and now I take his water bowl outside, clean it, bring it back inside, and as I'm walking his water bowl back inside, I can see him in the cage, jumping, flailing, flipping upside down. Completely abnormal behavior. This is not normal whatsoever. So I freak out. I'm like, does he have... And when I look at him, he kind of looked like his mouth was open a little bit, but he wasn't drooling like when an animal has like respiratory issues or something like that. So I thought, my initial first thought was, oh no, maybe he swallowed something, a piece of wood, you know, or sometimes they poop in their water. If he jumps in his water and he opens his mouth, bad timing, you know, poop could technically get in there. So these are all the thoughts going through my head. All right, we're gonna have to put the story on pause for a second because we are here at Arizona Exotic Animal Hospital. This is what it looks like. Again, they are a fantastic clinic with reptile doctors and specialists on hand. And like I said, even into the middle of the night. Well, not quite the middle of the night. I think they're like after office hours, close at like 10. But then like the doctor can still see animals if it is past 10. You just need to like schedule that appointment, that after hours appointment with them. And so that's what I was actually trying to do for him that night. And he actually wound up passing away before I could schedule that. But sad news, I have to go grab his body right now, and then we're going to drive him up to Midwestern University, where they're gonna do a full pathology and tissue, muscle, brain, everything examination to see what could have possibly went wrong with him. Okay, so I do have Draco with me now, and I'll be heading up to Midwestern University. But just a cool side note, like, It's small, but something that is meaningful. They will take the footprint, paw print, claw print of your animal, put it into a clay design, and then you bake it in the oven, and it'll kind of memorialize, you know, your pet's paws. And so I've actually really never done that for another pet before, but in this situation, I just felt just so inclined to have them do that for him, because I really viewed him, you know, I have so many reptiles, which we all, you know, take care of and feed, clean, house. Sometimes you get lost in the monotony of how many you have, and you have to prioritize their husbandry over building a bond or a relationship with them. But Draco was definitely one of those that I was, you know, seeking to build that bond and relationship with. He was obviously the only adult male Celebensis Sailfin dragon that I had or have ever had, and just very rare in the country in general. And so I was super stoked to have him, and it's just really unfortunate that this happened. So I'm gonna get on the road, and once I get on the road, I'll get back to my story. All right, so real quick, I'm at the gas station getting gas, so I got a minute. The reason that we have to go get his necropsy and examination done at Midwestern is because when I dropped off his body at the vet, they called me later that night and they're like, hey, we would love to do the necropsy and educate ourselves on this extremely rare species. This is a great opportunity, but we don't have as much ability to test as thoroughly as Midwestern would. So for a little bit extra financially, you could have Midwestern do it. So I was like, yeah, let's do that. That sounds great. Thank you for being honest with me, letting me know. And then as I'm going through that process, I find out that they won't let you keep the body. And one of the things that I really wanted to do with Draco was, you know, decompose his flesh and all of that and keep his skeleton as like a memorial and just kind of like nostalgic feature that I can have throughout time. And I talked to Midwestern a lot, and there's nothing that they could do to let me keep his body. So I was forced to make this decision, like, do I want the vet to do the necropsy but not as thoroughly as Midwestern, but I get to keep the body? Or do I want Midwestern to do it and I don't get to keep the body, but I get a thorough examination, and we're going to gain a lot more knowledge about what could have potentially went wrong here and what to expect for like imports in the future or just with this species as a whole. And so I went back and forth and back and forth, and then I went with the Midwestern decision just so we could gain knowledge. So that memorial plaque of his feet they gave me, that means even that much more now, given the gravity of the scenario. All right, guys, I apologize for the road noise if it is bothering you. I'm actually on the highway right now because Midwestern University is actually way up there in Glendale, even north of Phoenix, which is like way north of where I'm at. So I'm making the drive up there, and I figured this will be a good time to kind of explain the story. So getting back to the original story of when I found him, I knew something was extremely wrong, and I was very, very worried. So I took him outside. I had a large water tub outside that I used to give him baths in and stuff like that. And my initial thought was, if something's stuck in his throat, then he can kind of wash it out in this giant water bin, and I can maybe try to pull it out or something. But he was very lethargic, very non-energized, and this is extremely rare for sailfin dragons. They are usually extremely energized. Imagine like a Komodo dragon meets a parrot. Like, this is the type of energy that these guys have, and he wasn't showing any of that. I took a small video, I sent it to a couple other experts. We'll call them experts because we're all kind of new to the Hydrosaurus as far as diseases, captive care. There's very few people that have actually had really good hands-on experience with this species. And I even got on the phone with one of them, which is Alex from Alex's Agamids. Thank you so much, Alex, for taking that call in the middle of his night, because he's a few hours ahead of me, and we were trying to troubleshoot what it could be. But before I called Alex, let me rewind a little bit. I was outside, took the video, sent it to a couple of people to see what they might be able to say, and I was trying to get shots of the inside of his mouth, which I could see. To me, the inside of his gums looked a little bit white and a little bit inflamed, and then his torso was a little bit puffy, like not too much. Like somebody who doesn't know him would think that he was perfectly fine, but I know him and I know reptiles, and the amount of puffiness in his torso, you know, there should always be a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of give in the torso of an animal, and I could see that he was like puffed out. So that was kind of my analysis. Lethargic. He wasn't tracking with the eyes. Normally their eyes track everything like a hawk, and he wasn't tracking at all. A little bit puffy around the abdomen, inside of the mouth, a little bit whiter than usual, but still had a little pinkish to it, and a little bit what appeared to me to be inflamed, like puffy a little bit, you know. And I had seen these similar symptoms now in retrospect with our Tegus, with a couple of our Tegus earlier on in the year, when I think they either got bit or stung or ingested a black widow or a scorpion, because, you know, we keep them outside. And I was able to see them through it. This happened to me with my Tegus, I think it was 2 or 3 times this summer with like 1 or 2 Tegus, and I saw them through this situation. And within 2 to 3 weeks, they got through it, and now they're back to normal, living, thriving, growing. Everything's good with them. But they're a very hardy species, you know, and they were kept outside where the natural sunlight can help them a lot, and temperatures are very high and stuff like that, and that's usually good for a reptile. So anyway, I'm not saying that this is the same situation as that, but spinning back around to that, we'll touch on that in a second when I actually was on the phone with the vet. But I was on the phone with Alex first, and Alex was very helpful. We were kind of troubleshooting what it might be. We went through his care routine and all that kind of stuff. And at this point, I could see that there's nothing obstructing the throat. So I just have him back inside, and I'm trying to make a decision on, do I want to take him to the vet in the middle of the night, or do I want to monitor him? You know, because very tough decision, but vets are very limited in what they can do. If this is a situation that they're not going to be able to solve, you have to consider that, and consider the tests that they want to run and the cost that it's going to cost you to take the animal to the vet in the middle of the night, and see if it's truly worth it, you know? And so me and Alex were kind of talking about that, considering that, and you know, he says, I'm so sorry, I really don't know what else this could be. And we hang up the phone. I call the vet. I'm on the phone with the vet, and I'm kind of getting ready to take him in. And then she's kind of running down the cost to me, and like what it could be and what it couldn't be and all that kind of stuff. And while we're on the phone, she's like, I tell her, I'm like, hey, he's having small muscle spasms right now. I can see in his abdomen, I can see in his arm, and on his cheek muscle, he's having small muscle spasms, and he's getting weaker. Like he's, you know, and this is all in the span of an hour and a half. So by the time I'm on the phone with the vet, this is only about an hour later, after I've tried to do what I could do, calling Alex. Now I'm on the phone with the vet, and the vet is like, that sounds really reminiscent of possible intoxication from like, or envenomation from like poison or black widow. She's like, we don't have black widow antivenom, but we do have scorpion antivenom, if you want to treat him with that. But of course, we don't know if that's what it is, so there's a good chance that it won't work, or there's a chance that it won't work. So I'm like, hey, can I think about this for a second, and I will give you a call back here in a minute. And actually our phone got disconnected, so, but we were kind of at that point in the conversation where it was already at that point where I need to make a decision. So now I'm thinking about it, and as I'm thinking about it, and this happened while I was on the phone with the vet, I told the vet, I was like, he's getting weaker. He was holding up his head before, now he's not even holding up his head. A matter of fact, when I got on the phone with the vet, I said to her, I said, hey, I think he just died. Let me check. And he wasn't dead, but he was very, very weak at this point. He could not hold up his head. So at this point, I get off the phone with the vet. He was also taking like deep breaths. Like his breaths must have been so small, I really couldn't see too much, but he was taking a deep breath. Like every 20 to 30 seconds, he would take like 2 or 3 deep breaths. And then his breathing stabilized and his torso swelling subsided. So we didn't have any torso swelling anymore or puffiness, and his breathing kind of stabilized from taking a few deep breaths, you know, every 20 to 30 seconds, to taking normal, what appears to be normal inhalations and breaths, you know, every second. And so I'm talking to the vet about all this. We get disconnected, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I need to make a decision. Like, do I want to take him in for the scorpion treatment, the middle of the night treatment? They're not going to be able to run blood work or x-rays, and there's really no guarantee that it's going to reveal anything. So I'm just thinking about all of this stuff, you know? And probably only a couple minutes after I got off the phone with the vet, I'm kind of looking at him, observing him, trying to keep him warm kind of thing, and he passes away right there in front of me. And I kind of saw this coming based on his symptoms, but it was still very shocking in the moment and very saddening. And so I put him up on his log where it's a little bit warmer, and I basically pack in for the night. At this point, when he passed, I could see that he had a little bit more saliva around his mouth because he was losing motor function with all his muscles and strength, so he could no longer like swallow as much anymore. And this happened now in retrospect, when the vet said that this might be scorpion or black widow envenomation. I was reflecting back on my Tegus and when this happened with them. And with them, I had to help them drink and stuff like that because they too were too weak to move on their own. They were almost like paralyzed in a way. And I would help them drink a little bit, not too much of course, but help them get some slurps up and some shallow water. And they too had a little bit of white puffiness in their throat and a buildup of saliva. And so right before he passed, I tried to open his mouth one more time to see what the situation is in there, and I could see a little bit more buildup of saliva, and then within a couple of minutes, he was just gone. So I pack it in for the night with a small degree of hope that he will like resurrect overnight, but not really thinking he will because I could already tell that he's passed away at this point. So I check on him a couple more times before I go to bed, and he's just stuck in the same spot that I put him at, no movement whatsoever. And I call the vet in the morning, basically let them know that he passed away, and that's when I began to make preparations for that. And so fast forward to basically where we are today. I did so much research over the couple of days that he was with Arizona Exotic Animal Hospital, because originally I took him there for the necropsy, and then that's when they called me back later that evening and said it would be better that he would be at Midwestern. And then the next day I talked to the lab specialist at Midwestern in detail about what tests they would run and the conclusions or non-conclusions that they could possibly give me, because I would have to surrender his body and I wouldn't get it back. And I was trying to research like how plausible was it for me to, decompose his flesh and save his skeleton and clean his skeleton and reassemble his skeleton and all that kind of stuff. And I basically came to the conclusion that for this particular case, it would be better for me to have the knowledge of what happened rather than try to pursue, having a necropsy done, but not as thoroughly and still get his body back. So I made the decision to have the thorough necropsy done, which is where I'm heading right now. So I'm heading to Midwestern University right now. When I get there, if there's anything that I can film about the pathologist manager or the pathologist doctor telling me anything, I will. If not, then I will basically either release this video and then make another video about the results, or I will just wait for this video to publish and make a video about the results. I'm pretty sure it's going to take them a few weeks to do all the different testing, and because Midwestern University is a veterinary training institute, they told me that they would definitely take their time, especially with a super rare and unique species like this. They want to investigate every possibility and turn over every rock that they can in investigation, and have their vet school trainees kind of go through that process as well. And so I'm pretty sure it's going to be like 4 to 6 weeks before I hear back from anything. But as soon as I hear back, I will let you guys know. For now, I will release this information so that you guys can kind of know what I've been going through this week, and why I might have been a little bit slower on responses with everything, and what we've been up to. You know, we did just come back from the Tucson Reptile Expo. So now that we're back and kind of settled in, the staff over here has done a great job of keeping up and staying on top of cleaning and preparations as we came back. And so that should allow me to now spend some more time on the customer service side, as well as the social media side, you know, making more content, sharing more videos and all of that. So I thank you guys so much for hearing me out on this. I just wanted to share because this means so much to me, and I want to take you along for the information journey that we are going on here to try to find out what happened with Draco. And so I'll definitely let you guys know that. Thank you guys so much. You guys are in my thoughts and prayers and in my heart all the time, and I appreciate all the love and support that you guys give back. All right, so I just dropped Draco off, and it was actually pretty cool. Like, they have you pull up to these like 30-foot giant steel doors, and being on campus here, you can see that they have like horses and other large animals they study. I don't know, you know, this whole situation has kind of awakened a curiosity in me to like want to work with animals on a investigative level, like to try to determine stuff like this, like what could have potentially killed this animal or might be causing this situation. Not necessarily like be a vet per se, but maybe like work in a lab doing stuff like this. So we'll see. Maybe in my second half of life or whatever, that's something I'll pursue educational wise. But yeah, they were very nice. And they said that it could, you know, if there's anything that they find initially, they will let me know. If not, the full results will be ready in like 30 days. They were aware of his symptoms. They were aware of what we were theorizing it could be as far as like the envenomation or consumption of the scorpion or black widow. So I have high hopes that we'll be able to find out something. So thank you guys so much for being here with me through this situation. I really love and appreciate you guys, and thank you for the love and support back. So thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, have a Geeky Gecko great day. No matter what's going on, there's light at the end of the tunnel, guys, and hold on to hope. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace and love. Goodbye, my friends.